Hi folks, this is Irv Homer. We're brought to you live, courtesy of broadcasting from IrvHomer.com. Doing the program a little early today because I have a speaking engagement tonight before the Northeast Shrine Club. I appreciate the fact that they want to see me in person and speak with them, and I appreciate it. The Northeast Shrine Club, of course, located in Northeast Philadelphia. This program, once again, is paid for and subsidized by me, not by sponsors, although we do welcome sponsors, but so far the response has been minimal. In fact, it has been nothing. So it doesn't make any difference because we will continue, and as the program grows, I'm sure the sponsors will get on board. We have booked in the future quite a few interesting guests, and just had a confirmation today that Mark Howard, formerly of Channel 6 and Channel 3, will be a guest before the election to voice his many years of experience in following the political scene in America. And we'll have John DePremio on from Citizens for Common Sense. Valerie Morrison will be on, one of America's leading psychics. We have contacted, in fact, had the pleasure of meeting Mayor Joe DiGirolamo this weekend, and has promised that he will come on to speak about the influence and the effect of gambling at Philadelphia Park. And of course, we've contacted Judge Brown, had the pleasure of meeting Judge Brown, who handles problems with juveniles in Bucks County. But the fact that it's a problem of juveniles in Bucks County that the good judge handles, I'm sure it goes across the entire country. So no matter where you're viewing the program or listening to the program or going into our archive, that you can avail yourself of by contacting my website at www.irvhomer.com. You can then find out what the problems are in your community with the juveniles and dropouts and drug offenses and seatbelt laws and DUIs and all that stuff that the judge is well familiar with. He's a delightful guy. Had the pleasure of speaking with him for about 20 minutes this week. We met at a restaurant. I introduced myself. He knew who I was. And so we will be having interesting guests on. Also, the Rotary Club will be coming on the program, and we'll be having interesting guests to inform you, the public, as to what is available in your neighborhood. Once again, this program is not dedicated to the type of program I did in the past, which was contentious and me versus them and you versus us. My main interest is that we make a better understanding between all varying points of view and correct the condition that says, okay, let me give you the lineup. On Friday, September the 19th, Bill Kearney, who is the author of a book called Comp, the man who lost $1 million at the casinos, will be a return guest, and Pearl Poulter will be our guest on September 22nd, and Pearl will tell you about the dangers of credit, how you can protect yourself, what happens if you go bankrupt, beware of the people who promise that they're going to get you out of debt. Well, Pearl is now recognized as a national expert on credit problems, and will have vast information for you to get on our chat room and answer your questions. Also, she's the author, I think, of 2 or 3 books on credit, which in a capitalist society is important to understand because many people just don't understand what money is, what money can do, the value of credit, and the pitfalls of credit. On Friday, September the 26th, Valerie Morrison will be making her return appearance here on the Irv Homer Show. So we do have quite a few guests lined up for your information, your entertainment, and all that kind of good stuff. You can contact me if you're available yourself for the program that is live now on the chat room. We'll take your questions, and I don't know whether we have any viewers or not at this particular point because they're used to 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock tonight, this program will be replayed. But if you happen to be catching me, you're more than welcome to check in on the chat room, and we'll answer whatever questions you have. But basically, I suppose this program is dedicated to the 6 o'clock audience. We are in a situation, ladies and gentlemen, right now, and I was watching the television yesterday with great intensity on the failure of Lehman Brothers, which is not a bank, but it is an investment company. And Lehman Brothers has 25,000 employees, give or take a few thousand, throughout the world. And it seems like the financial house of cards of America is starting to collapse. And the big question is, what does it mean to you and me? I mean, Bear Stearns went down, Goldman Sachs, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, The auto industry is looking for a bailout. So the question is, how safe are your investments? And how safe are the investments that your pension funds are invested in, or your retirement funds, or your 401ks? Well, the president today, Monday, September the 15th, had a news conference, I guess about 10 o'clock today. And the new phrase for what is going on right now, and no one knows really, with all the experts that I've watched and all the experts that I've contacted today, the president has coined a new phrase, and it is called an adjustment period. So our finances now in America are going through an adjustment phase. What the adjustment phase is, I don't know. I suppose the adjustment phase to describe is similar to the question that Charlie Gibson posed to Sarah Palin, the vice presidential candidate for John McCain and the Republican Party, when he asked her, do you agree with the Bush doctrine? Well, I think it was a silly question to ask, and I think it was even sillier for Sarah Palin to try to respond to it. My response would have been, what Bush doctrine would you like me to address? The economic Bush doctrine? The military Bush doctrine? The terrorist book doctrine? What doctrine would you like me to address? And I will tell you which ones I agree with the president and which ones I don't. It is obvious and evident to me, ladies and gentlemen, that Sarah Palin does not know how to run with the big dogs. Sarah Palin, lovely lady that she is, good administrator of the governor of Alaska, just isn't ready for the big time. And the big time is what she is going to face. And of course, those people who support Sarah Palin are saying, well, why are they beating up on her? Well, I don't know whether they're beating up on her as much as they are saying, well, who is she? The media had no problem in beating up on the Clintons for 8 years, still beating up on them. So what is this special favoritism that Sarah Palin or John McCain or Barack Obama or Joe Biden is so afraid of? When you put yourself out into the public and you want to be the leader, you want to be their bosses, they want to be their savior, let them beat up on you. My problem is that they don't beat up on them in the right way, if you call beating up. Now, many times in my career, I've been interviewed by press, both radio, television, newspapers, and I just answered it the way I felt. I have the longest interview in Philadelphia Magazine that was ever conducted on any talk show host in the country. I think it is 9 pages. And the thing is, I didn't know that I was being interviewed. Ron Javers, a reporter and a writer for Philadelphia Magazine, asked if he could spend a day with me. I said, sure, fine. I did not know that I was being taped on everything that I said. And I said some pretty drastic things that I not only said off the air, but I said on the air. So I had no problem in defending anything that I said. I didn't say anything off the air. 2 days later, he asked to come to my home and photograph my house and my internet. And my wife was a very private person, and she said, no, I don't want my house on television. I don't want the inside of our home on television. You're the person that does the programming. My home life is private. And so I said no. And I said, by the way, Ron, when are we going to have the interview? Oh, he says, I've already conducted it. I said, what? He says, yes, I taped the entire day that we were together. Now, I don't know whether it was illegal at that time or whether it isn't, whether it's legal or not today. I didn't care. And I said some dramatic statements, some that were rather controversial, some that weren't. And it was the longest interview. I forget the date, what Philadelphia Magazine that was. I really do. I forget the edition. Doesn't make a difference, but it's probably on the website someplace now, in the archives of Philadelphia Magazine. But you got to know how to answer these people. And I really felt sorry for not only Gibson, but for Sarah Palin, but I felt more sorry for we the public. For example, I suppose it's off base to have asked a couple of questions that I wanted to ask Sarah Palin. One of the questions I would have said, as the vice president and as the leader of a moral posture that you've assumed as governor and as the mayor and will be as vice president if elected, what do you think we should do with teenage pregnancies out of wedlock? Now, I guarantee you that there would have been a huge cry, why would you ask a question like that? Well, the reason I would ask a question like that, ladies and gentlemen, is because there are 400,000 single mothers out of wedlock pregnancies that cost us $400 million a year in America. And I spent an hour on the Bey Program in New York when a woman was there, single mother, who had 13 children, and it was costing the city of New York about $2,400 a week to put her and her children up in a hotel. Bob Grant was on the panel, and Lynn Samuels was on the panel. I forget who else was on the panel, but you can check the old Richard Bey programs. And when it got to my turn to ask her the question, I said, young lady, I said, you have how many, 13, 14 children? Yes. I said, good for you. Good for you. And I will give you that right to have 14 more. And the audience went berserk, and Grant went crazy, and Lynn Samuel said, oh, really? And she said, oh, really? I said, yes, I don't want to stop you from having as many men making you pregnant as you want. However, you have no right to get into my wallet to pay for them. That diffused the whole situation. The other panelist members got Jim out of shape. It's immoral. Was God going to say? I don't care about that. It is your business, teenage pregnancy, single. If you want to get pregnant, God bless you. But every teenage, unmarried teenager who is pregnant does not have a mother who is the mayor of a town or the governor of a town or a vice presidential candidate. And I'm sure would love and honor her grandchild, who will soon be officially married, will have the best of care and the best of education, the best possibilities to be a successful citizen. But what about the $400 million, Sarah Palin, of the poor, drug-addicted, alcoholic, teenage unmarried mothers in this country that are costing us $1,400 million a year? I think that question would be more important than selling an airplane on eBay. Whether or not the governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, sold an airplane, made money, I don't care about that. I care about a woman who has an unmarried teenage daughter who is symbolic of over $400 million worth of unwanted teenage pregnancies in America. I want to know what her solution will be if they're poor and their mothers are not vice presidential candidates. So in my opinion, the entire interview by Charlie Gibson was very delicately handled. It was a puff piece. It had no substance. It had no merit whatsoever. It didn't answer the questions that face our community. Once again, let me remind you that I have no axe to grind for either John McCain or Sarah Palin or Joe Biden or Barack Obama. Makes no difference to me which one gets in. I and you, ladies and gentlemen, will be required to survive regardless of who gets in. Am I right? The next morning after the election of November the 4th, you will still be paying for gasoline in your car. You will still receive your utility bill. You'll still get a bill for your automobile insurance. and it won't make a darn bit of difference which one gets elected. And it is none of my business who you vote for. And above all, it is none of your business who I vote for. And I can't emphasize enough, the vote in America is a secret vote. And the abominable radio and television today, both in the network media and the cable network and the syndicated radio, to me is about the most brutal, unconstitutional, biased programming that's been allowed by the Federal Communications Commission. Now, you may think that it's all right for Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or Michael Medved or any of the other fellows on syndicated radio to be a proponent for the Republican Party, the conservative cause, the James Dobson followers. I find an abomination. As I find an abomination for Chris Matthews and what's his name on cable television, who I don't watch that much, who have been removed from MSNBC as advocates for moderating a debate because their bias showed that they were for Barack Obama. So I don't want anyone who controls a microphone or a television camera to be biased. I want them to produce both sides of the story. And let you, the public, who buy the products that they advertise, make your decision as to who you want to vote for. The pluses and minuses of the Democrat candidates, the pluses or minuses of the Republican candidate, and your bias should not show. That's the way I was schooled in broadcasting, and I will remain true to that code. Although it is extremely difficult sometimes because emotions do run high. But we in the broadcasting industry are allegedly professionals. We're supposed to know how to be as objective as possible. We're supposed to be as unbiased as possible. We are supposed to present the news to you, the facts as we know them, opinion if we declare it's an opinion, but not to lead you by the hand and use one particular battering ram for the Democrat liberal, allegedly, or the conservative Republican, allegedly. In my opinion, there isn't a dime's worth of difference between the two. Moving along to what has happened in America today, and it is rather frightening to me, and there has been much said, let me repeat, much said about terrorism, anti-terror. We haven't had a terrorist attack in America since 9/11. Let's put it this way, we have no reported alleged attacks. But take my word for it, from the information that I have managed to glean, from sources that I've accumulated over the period of years in this business, we have been attacked in many areas. The FBI files, the CIA files, are loaded with actual attacks that have taken place in America that they can trace directly to terrorism, both local and foreign. And the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service records are full of terrorist attacks that they stopped, both here in America and overseas. So don't be misled by the fact that we haven't been attacked, or the Bush administration has been so wonderful that we've lived in perfect safety since 9/11. The humongous amount of terrorism in the world today, in all countries, those countries that we support, those countries that we don't support, live under the fear of terrorism on a daily basis. And we are not immune. And so I say to you in all confidence, we have had terrorist attacks in America. We have had terrorist attacks overseas. Those countries have suffered terrorist attacks. You don't read about it. it would cause tremendous panic. In addition to the man-made terrorism, for some reason or other, we have been under attack by Mother Nature. Starting, I suppose, with Katrina, tornadoes in Tornado Alley and center part of the United States, Hurricane Ike, causing tremendous amount of devastation, a 60-mile wide hurricane that went from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up into Chicago, where Chicago suffered 5 to 6 inches of solid rain. I've never seen Chicago flooded in my history. And I'm pretty much older than most of you folks that are viewing or will be getting the information off the website or the archive. I don't remember the weather attacking the United States the way it has attacked us. So when you scratch your head, let me also add, the Lehman Brothers and the Bear Stearns and the Goldman Sachs and the Fannie Mac, the Freddie Mac and the Fannie Mae are not isolated financial collapses, folks. This is international in scope. And what I told you many times, the United States has more nuclear weapons, the best supplied Army, Navy, Air Force in the world, with first strike capability against any potential enemy. But what good would it do us if we bombed nuclear bombs in China or in Iran? What good would it do us? Would we enjoy the spoils of war after we destroy those countries? Are we enjoying the spoils of war in Iraq and Afghanistan? Iraq being the third largest supplier of oil in the world, and still the $79 billion worth of oil does not come to the United States? So we have no spoils of war. It doesn't pay any country right now to destroy infrastructure, oil wells, utility lines, natural gas lines, waterways. So since the end of the Cold War, the enemies of America have figured out, more so than Americans have figured out, let's attack their pocketbooks. Let's attack their income. Let's attack their economy. And with the help of a corrupt Congress, the John McCains, the old boy network that John McCain and Sarah Palin are screaming about. Don't forget, John McCain was one of the Keating Five. His record in the Congress is not that great in the Senate. He's been caught with dirty hands many times. The rest of the world is out to financially bankrupt us. And that is economic terrorism. So we don't need New York City buildings blown up. We don't need Chicago buildings blown up. We don't need Philadelphia buildings blown up. But if they attack our financial infrastructure, as these collapses are occurring almost on a weekly basis, they can destroy America economically. Because the big thing that we need from them is energy. In light of the fact that we're $11 trillion in debt, how much money can the government of the United States continue to bail out mismanaged corporations? Who are these people in Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns and Goldman? Who are these people? Where did they come from? Did they get appointed? Were they elected by a board of directors? Who were the board of directors? Who are these people that make millions and billions of dollars and take our money to invest it, and we don't know who they are? We don't know who they are. And so when these companies fail, they walk out with millions of dollars, and the American taxpayer is left holding the bag. But as long as the Eagles and Dallas are playing tonight, and they will have 20, 50, 75 million boobus Americans worrying more about the outcome of the Eagles-Dallas game than the Lehman Brothers collapse, they'll constantly rape you. And many years ago, I coined a phrase called sheeple, meaning the American taxpayer. The American taxpayer is a sheeple. And what's great about sheep is you can shear them, take the wool, they grow it back again, and you shear them again. And it grows back again, and you shear them again. So the American taxpayer over the years, because of its political and financial ignorance, we get sheared on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, and we grow more hair, and they shave us again. Judge Rondell, in this morning's Inquirer, wrote an editorial on the op-ed page, which I found very interesting, and that is, we must educate our children on how money works. Well, thank you, Midge. What took that long? But as long as the government bails out lazy people, drug addicts, alcoholics, single teenage pregnancies, why shouldn't they bail out the rich? Should the rich be immune from welfare? That's discriminatory. So if we, the peasants of America, were self-sufficient and honorable people, where we took care of our own instead of looking for government handouts, then we would be justified in yelling that the government shouldn't bail out Bear Stearns or Lehman Brothers or anybody else. But as long as we, the public, hands are out for Social Security, unemployment compensation, small business loans, FHA mortgages, Medicare, Medicaid, why should the rich be denied the same thing? So welfare across the board must be not discriminatory. And yet you'll hear folks scream about, we can't bail out those companies. Well, how about yourself? And the Libertarian Party constantly says, which government program would you like to see eliminated? How many of you conservatives would love to see Social Security discontinued and you keep grandmom and grandpop? The old cliche, ladies and gentlemen, was a father and mother can keep 10 children and raise them. 10 children can't keep one parent or grandparent. You ever hear that? Well, it happens to be true. As I drive through Bucks County, where I reside, and I see these monstrous homes, I mean monstrous. I'm not bragging, I'm merely relating, and I'm sure many of you can relate to me the same way. I was born in a row house on Tarsdale Avenue. It was 16 feet wide, had one bathroom with a tub, no shower, a tub. We had a dirt basement. We had no basement, we had a cellar with dirt on the cellar floor, and we had 2 coal bins. And it was my father and my mother and my sister and me. And we always had a relative living with us. For some reason or other, we always ended up with an aunt, which we didn't mind because that was part of the family. And sometimes the aunt had a child and the aunt had the child, so it was usually 5 people or 6 people in the house. And we ate good, we lived good, we had one radio, Not a television set in every room. No rec room. No swimming pool out back. Little 16-row house. 16-foot row house on Torrendale Avenue. Had a settlement crack on the wall we couldn't get rid of. Every time my dad fixed it, it cracked again. In fact, I told the people that live in that house, if you ever sell it, I'll buy it. Just for sentimental value. I have no intention of moving in there. But when you take a look at these homes today, living rooms and bedrooms with 8 bedrooms, 30 feet by 80 feet, and 14 walk-in closets, and a loft, and a fan, and a rec room, and a family room, and 2-car garages, and 3-car garages, while Grandmom and Grandpop are living in an assisted living home someplace, taking up space and ground and cementing natural resources because Grandmom and Grandpop can't live in that $500,000, $600,000 home. That boggles my mind. I would love for my parents to be alive today to have them live in my home and repay them for what they did for me. Wouldn't bother me one bit. I have no problem with all of my relatives. My sons, if their wives would live on the Homer compound. I wanted to buy a piece of ground, many years ago. My wife had 5 sisters, 4 were widows, and I wanted to buy this piece of ground. There was a big home on it. I could have got it at a good price. And build 4 cottages there and have a compound of the family in which we would share the expenses of the taxes, and each family member, the widows, would live by themselves. For some reason or other, her family didn't like the idea. I said, fine. So one moved out where God says goodnight. The other one lived out where God says hello. They're scattered all over Pennsylvania and New York, and we never see them. Now they're widows, and I have nieces who are widows, and I never see them. 300-400 miles away. Why? And that's what's happened to America. We talk about family values. We talk about things. People say, well, you know, so what? I'd be happy if both my kids were married and lived with me, lived in the house. I build them a kitchen, their own living room. What's the big deal? Why is it that we must, as a family, once we get older, we have to separate? Have you ever been to Hyannisport in Cape Cod? The rich all live together. The Kennedy compound is a compound. The Rockefeller estate, I believe it's in Rye, New York, is a compound. But only the poor schmucks can't live with the family. Gotta get my own place. Gotta do this, gotta do that. Gotta have assisted living. Over 55, under 55. No dogs, no cats. What kind of garbage is that? I had a sign on my refrigerators. Many people have, right? Your refrigerator is the post headquarters, right, gang? For pictures and notes and everything else. And it says, this house is clean enough to be safe and dirty enough to be lived in. I have friends of mine that are required to take your shoes off when you go into their house. That's right. There may be some of you folks tuning in. Take my shoes off to go into your house? I will wipe my shoes. You can wipe my shoes. You can clean my shoes. But if you think I'm going to remove my shoes to come into your house, I'm not coming to visit you. I have white carpets in rooms in my house. I get them cleaned once a year. Not from dirt. They don't get dirty in a year. For sanitary purposes, the rugs are sanitized. Home should be a place that's warm, friendly, unifying the family. When's the last time you walked into a house and it smelled from vegetable soup cooking on the stove? Or a good pot roast? Today you have to spray with lemon. So you walk in the house and it smells like lemon. Every house smells like lemon. Or a miracle green. Or some other fake smell to take the smell away from the food that you're going to eat. No, I want to smell the food that I eat. I want to smell the cake that is in the oven. I want to smell the pie that's in the oven. I don't want to walk in where there's a pie baking that smells from lemon. And of course we have a million, I don't know why I got on this kick, but I'm just on it, I enjoy it. Everything is time saving, right? Everything is going to save you time. The dishwasher is going to save you time. The garbage disposal is going to save you time. The remote control on your television set on your computer, that's going to save you time. The automatic start on your car is going to save you time. Everything is geared to save you time. What's the big rush? And when all of these whiz-bang technological things in your home break down, and the serviceman isn't an instant call, it's stress time. Right, gang? We'll be there between 3 and 6. Why not? Well, we have like 87,000 customers. Yeah, but my set books. We have no patience. Everything is instant gratification. What the hell is our rush? To get to the casino? To get to the vacation spot? To stand in line at your favorite restaurant? The terrorists, ladies and gentlemen of the world, do not have to attack us physically where it's visible. We're doing a good enough job on ourselves. We're doing a good enough job on ourselves. The real issues that face America are not being addressed by the candidates. And the political adversaries of both the Democrats and the Republicans are too busy criticizing each other. I am not interested in what Joe Biden or Barack Obama say about John McCain and Sarah Palin. I wish Sarah Palin and John McCain would totally ignore Barack Obama and Joe Biden. And I wish Joe Biden and Barack Obama would totally ignore Sarah Palin and John McCain. Just address what you are going to do. Not what they're going to do. Who cares what they're going to do? Who cares what your opposition is doing? One of the most contentious and competitive businesses to be in is the business that was very good to me, and that is the broadcasting industry. And friends of mine said, well, did you hear something? No, I didn't hear that. Well, did you hear something? What do I care what they do? My program for 35 years, 25 on one radio station, 16 years on television, has been based on me, not them. Now I'm critical of them because I'm not in the business directly. I do this thing here in the confines of my own studio. I didn't care what they did. I didn't care what their opinion was. I didn't care what the boss's opinion was. Sometimes I cared about my sponsor's opinion, but my sponsors, being loyal that they were because they knew they got results when they advertised with me, they objected to some things that I said. But they were smart enough to be businessmen. We don't care whether I agree with him or disagree with him, as long as he brings bodies into my store or calls me on the telephone and says I want my service. I can't say the same about WBCD Radio that I left, which is a wing of the Republican Party in Bucks County. It should be fined, but it won't because of its political connections. I don't know how many lawsuits have been filed against it. I wouldn't give them the pleasure of suing them. I really don't care if they stay in existence or not. They're a flea on the ass of humanity. Not the people that work there. Well, there's one there, Pat Wanning. She's not the brightest bulb in the tree. But she needs to make a buck because she can't get a job working for Murphy. She used to work for Fitzpatrick, but she's a single mother. Let her be well and be happy. But the woman really doesn't know that much to do a talk program. But it's not personal, Pat. Strictly business. Pat once said to me, she referred to me as the crazy guy coming up after her, until I showed her how much I made on a contract. I said, Pat, this is how much my contract was when I left WWDB. Have you ever made this kind of money in your life? Not in your life. Well, that kind of shut her up for a while. So these are the things that politicians should do and should address. I'm not interested in Joe Biden criticizing Sarah Palin or Barack Obama criticizing John McCain. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if you become my president and my vice president? Who are you going to pick for your Secretary of State, Mr. Barack Obama? Mr. McCain, who are you going to pick as Secretary of State? And are you preparing Sarah Palin, who is the vice president, to be the president? This is unbelievable what is going on in our country today. And yet you have the Barack Obamas being enamored, embraced by Oprah Winfrey. When did Oprah Winfrey become a political consultant? I know Oprah. You do a great show, stick to it. Singers, actors, actresses, you want to donate to the political campaign, fine. But Barbara Streisand, you're not a political candidate. You're not a political consultant. You know nothing about politics. You know how to sing. So just sing. Matt Damon, do your thing and act. You can have political opinions, but that's not your forte. Your forte is entertaining me and my viewers. So we are in critical times, ladies and gentlemen. And we are at times...
We do have a question.
We have a question. Well, that's nice. It is now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. This program will be archived and replayed at 6 o'clock. What is the question? We have a question in the balcony.
Yeah, from Mike from Pennsville, New Jersey wants to know, are you still involved with the Libertarian Party?
Mike, I'm not involved in any political party because I disaffiliated myself with a party. I do adhere to the libertarian philosophy, I would say about 60%. Since when I said I retired from broadcasting, I retired from opinionated broadcasting. And I retired from opinionated broadcasting because it got to a point where it was no longer my opinion. It was the opinion of management. It was the opinion of the sales department. It was the opinion of the program director. It was the opinion of the ACLU. It was the opinion of the Federal Communications Commission. It was everybody's opinion except my own. But in philosophy, the Libertarian Party is a party that has certain rules and guidelines. Clear and decisive guidelines on what can be the solution to the problems that we exist. Not him or, I disagree with some of their policies. I may support a libertarian candidate in a local run, commissioner, township commissioner, may do that. But my affiliation now is as an independent American with no affiliation to any political party. I do support the libertarian philosophy because I know what it is. I don't know what the Republican philosophy is. I don't know what the Democrat philosophy is. I do know what the libertarian philosophy is, Mike. Thanks for checking in on our chat room. The Libertarian Party is one based on self-accomplishment. And you can't have it both ways. You can't be against big government and take earmarks. You can't be against big government and take government handouts. You can't be against big government and want them to insure your money up to $100,000. All of the political pundits on the conservative side, Larry Kudlow and that group, until Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns, Goldman Sachs, and all these companies collapsed, they were against big government. They're against big government. Big government. Yet if you watch them today, after Lehman Brothers announced that they're going to go bankrupt, all they say, when you invest, make sure you invest with big government who insures your deposits up to $100,000. Well, Kudlow et al., you can't have it both ways. You can't be against big government and want the government to bail your bank out if you can't figure out where to invest your money without risk. So you really like big government, Larry. And all of you political pundits and financial advisors that you see on radio and television today, as much as you say you're against big government, all they're talking about is make sure your deposits are safe in a government FDIC insured account or an SLIC, a savings and loan insurance corporation account. And that is why the liberal wing of the Democrat Party on radio today, Air America, which nobody listens to because they're all idiots, they deserve to fail, cannot respond to the anti-big government Limbaugh, Hannity, Medved, Savage, et al., those people. They just don't know. They're not dumb. They're just ignorant. Ignorant of the facts. Cannot present a viable rebuttal to many of the charges that are made by the conservative moderators that, in my opinion, are illegal and unconstitutional on syndicated radio. And so what we have in America today is a division. Whether you like it or not, we have a black and white division with Barack Obama. We have an old fogey division with John McCain. We have a woman separate because of Sarah Palin. We have an old fogey like Joe Biden, who's going to make a change. In what? Biden and McCain ain't going to make no change. They've been very successful in the Senate doing what they do. And that's the name of that tune. We are in critical times, ladies and gentlemen. But unfortunately, I do not see an answer to the problem. The reason there's no answer to the problem is because they're not looking for the answer. Oh, you're going to go to the casinos and you're going to bet that you're going to make money. You're going to gamble on the lottery. You're going to bet on the Eagles-Dallas game tonight. You're going to be as happy as a pig in mud. And then you're going to bitch about the price of gasoline at $4 a gallon. You have no idea why the government decided, or why the automobile industry decided to make SUVs. Why did they make SUVs instead of station wagons? There's a question for you. What was the transition between the great family station wagon to the van to the SUV? How many times do you use four-wheel drive in the Philadelphia area? 2 days a year, maybe 3 days a year if we have snow. For this, you need this big gas-guzzling monster? the Escalade, the Trescalade, the Cockamamie-Lamay, the Baby. You know why they decided to make SUVs the automobile industry? Because when the government came down and placed a law to increase gas mileage in pleasure automobiles, the station wagon used to hold 9 people. I had a station wagon that held 9 people. Could take a 4x8 piece of plywood, put it in the back, inside, had roof rack, take a load of stuff on a station wagon. Because the automobile industry said if we come up with an SUV, it will be considered a truck. And trucks did not have to meet the minimum gas mileage standard established by the government. It wasn't a loophole. It was a lobbyist that lobbied in Washington that when the CAFE standards, which is the law that dictates that the automobile industry must get better mileage from passenger automobiles, they said, how about if we make SUVs and we'll call them trucks? And the government said, good idea. So to make it look like we're doing something, by increasing the gas mileage and putting catalytic converters on the car and upping the cost of the automobile, not only at the when you buy it, but in the insurance, because to replace a catalytic converter can cost you about $1,000. But we'll let you guys build SUVs, and they won't come under the mileage standards. Now, even with the hybrid SUV, it still doesn't come under the standards established by the government to increase gas mileage. So when you're driving an SUV, it's a truck. It's not a passenger vehicle. That's why SUVs became so popular in America. The automobile industry made you buy them under safety. Of course, when they first came out, they used to flip over. Remember when they used to flip over? The training wheels on the sides of them, you saw them demonstrate on television. There's a reason for everything that happens in life. It's a matter of getting under the rock and lifting it up and shedding light on it. And once that light is shone on what's beneath the rock, you suddenly understand how you're being suckered on a daily basis. Simple example, I remember Ivory Soap. 100% better than last year. Then the next year was 100% better than that year. Then it was 100% better than that year. If the soap that Ivory was putting out, Procter & Gamble was putting out, was 100% better each year, what kind of garbage was I bathing with when I was a kid? Horse manure? In brick form? White? We get suckered on a constant basis. It requires a brain. And get the fuzzballs out of your head. Oh, but you'll buy the lottery ticket. You'll go to... I never lose at the casino. You ever meet anybody that ever lost at the casino? You ever see anybody that ever lost on the lottery? Betting on a football game? In the pool? In the office? Well, what the government has done to you, for you, ladies and gentlemen, is give you everything that your local bookmaker used to give you. The only thing they haven't gotten around to yet is supplying drugs. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, they did. If you watch television, make sure you ask your doctor about fluffitis or phenecus, which will well, remember, if you're pregnant or if you anticipate pregnancy or if you can't urinate, you shouldn't take it. So we're looking for the happy ending always. We're always looking for that happy pill. We're always looking for that something that's going to make us feel good. And speaking with a gentleman today, who we'll have on the program as a guest in the future, he said, Irv, what happened with the financial institutions in America? I said, one word: greed. If you take your money and you invest it with an investment company, and you go to the casino, you get instant gratification at the casino. Whether it's a table game, whether it's dice, whether it's roulette, whether it's Keno, whether it is a slot machine. It's instant gratification. Greedy people don't want to wait for the stock market report at the end of the day. They'd rather throw it in the casino because greed has become part of the American life. And as long as the big boys control the means of financial power, they will cater to your greed. How much can I make on a CD? How much can I make on a money market? How much can I make on this? How much money can I make at the casino? It's our fault, folks. What's his name say? I went around America, looked for the enemy, and found out it was us. Stop being the enemy to yourself. Get yourself educated. Look at things the way they really are, not the way you would like them to be. I'm Irv Homer. Thank you so much for all your response, and I'll see you later.